This lecture is being brought to you in part by the generous gifts of these sponsors.
We're going to get started here in just a second. Are we okay with the started? Okay. Yeah, folks, what we've done tonight is just kind of featured this area. And we're going to have, of course, we've got stuff from all over the world, been to about 35 countries. But our backyard is pretty remarkable. And after you travel a bunch and you don't want to take Pelican cases stacked 19 wide on an airplane and go to another country, it's really nice to film right here. So we've been filming in the last couple of weeks. We did one with National Geographic just a couple of days ago and worked on some IMAX stuff I can't talk about. Shh, there's nobody here. Good. At any rate, so first thing I want to do though is, I know we had a rough year. Some of you Florida Gators? Ah, okay, all right. Well, we, a buddy of mine and I actually shot the opening when you go into the stadium and you watch all the alligators doing their thing on the big screen there. It was so bad before they used old movie film, they stretched it all out and it looked horrible. So we went back and shot it all with a cinema camera, a red camera, and at real high resolution, 6K, and turned it in. And it all went well, but the music was a little off. So we went back and wrote music and they would not take it in, but you're going to hear it tonight for the first time. And if you know the composer Wagner, we invited him over. He's been dead for a while. He's decomposing, as you know the old joke goes. But then we also added redneck rhythms to it from the stadium. So let's see how it works out. And this is all shot in, mostly all in Marion County, a few of them in Paintsburg. That wasn't over the top, was it? They have not accepted that just yet. We're working on them. We have to give thanks to a lot of the people that are here. If I went and named everybody on behalf of the audience, have helped us on different things over the years. But as far as this one, there was a man who passed away recently, as a great friend, and Bruce Swedeen. And Bruce was the engineer for Thriller for Michael Jackson. And he loaned us the microphone to stick in front of a 13-foot alligator who's named Hunter. He's in the alligator farm in St. Augustine. So we actually got him, who's the James Earl Jones of all alligator bellowers, to do our bellowing for us. So that's how that came about. So Bruce is smiling up in heaven. He did 14 albums with Quincy Jones. So I'd love to be in on the music, what's going on up yonder right now. One of our dear friends, Lee Hunt Cheatham, also passed away, but his voice is still really strong in the industry. A lot of us worked with him, and a lot of you guys worked with him. He was Mr. Silver Springs. He was up and down that river, sometimes 7 days a week for many, many years. He was actually there about 64 years. So he's just going to introduce our first piece. It's just a little short introduction. But what he's going to say is some of what he means, but also something else. And that is, he's going to say something about the fact that what this might have looked like here 1,000 years ago. But what he's also saying is this was all shot here right now. So remnants of what was here 1,000 years ago are still here. There's still bison on Paynes Prairie. There's still manatees that are coming back way better than they have in a long time. We have more deer now than we did when the Pilgrims were here. So some things can be looked at in a positive way.
You know, I can only imagine what Florida must have looked like thousands of years ago.
I guess some of you have seen the Silver River story that we did, BC before COVID. And we're going to put a couple little chunks in here because I don't think anybody can tell the story of the Silver River better than guys that have been on the river for 40 to 50 years, 60 years. And so I have a little bit of that coming up right now. And what they're doing here is telling you how they feel about the river, but also in some ways they're reminiscing about what it was at one time. So give it a look and we'll see.
Oh, this is beautiful. You know, you see this, you know it's real, but it's still hard to get to just believe what you see is real. That's the part with the people when they come here. It's hard to believe it.
People still come here because of this beautiful river. You know, people have gone all over the world and never seen anything so amazing before.
The clear water of Silver River is fed by rainfall that soaks into the ground from an area of over 1,300 square miles. So you got 7 miles here of nothing on the banks of the river. You got a pristine river flowing all the time. The most beautiful place in the world. This is what blows people's mind when they ride that glass bottom boat at Silver Spring. They can't believe it. They really can't believe it. It's amazing to me.
Wow. Whoa. Some of them open their mouth and can't close it.
I see it, but I cannot believe it. Clearest water I ever seen. May I touch it? Can I just touch it? The water changes every 2 minutes, all day long, all night. You are the first one to ride this beautiful water. They get a kick out of that.
Yeah, they tell them sometime this is new water. You know, yesterday this water might have been many miles away.
For years and years, Silver Springs has been known as Silver Springs, a family attraction and kept as natural as possible. Carl Ray and Shorty Davison made Silver Springs one of the largest tourist attractions in the country. Now, we did filter in some exotic animals and trying to keep up with the times. The legendary Ross Allen brought in snakes and crocodiles from all over the world. It was at one time one of the largest reptile exhibits anywhere.
Oh yeah, Ross Hope trained me. He would come out on the boat and he would ride with us and he would tell us, you know, the people can absorb only so much. You don't want to just talk all the time. You want to give them a chance to talk among themselves. And we would be quiet and then he'd ride so far and say, well, now it's time for the captain to kick in and say something. So we would find something interesting along the shoreline to talk about and start back talking again.
But if you talk to the people when they start out of the gate, the thing they was interested in was this river, the clarity of the water, and the way that nature had been left alone.
Oh, I hope I see plenty of fish and turtles. People love those. That makes my job much easier. I mean, you can get their attention in a minute if you say, there's a turtle. Boy, everybody's looking.
And of course, you know, we have a variety of fish here. Some say 32, but I can't go to 32, so I'm gonna say a few. We have the bass, we have mullet, boarfin, sunfish, panfish. You catch a batch, I cook them, we'll call them fried fish.
Virginia passed this year too, and what an amazing lady, or last year, excuse me. Oh, we all loved her. She helped a lot of people out there, and she was just ran that dock after a while. She had everybody what time they're supposed to be there and do all that stuff. So she's wonderful. What we're going to show you next was on Curiosity Stream. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that station, but I worked with Geographic for many years, and one of the guys who got me on there was a guy named Steve Burns. And I talked to Steve one time. I said, Steve, what's going on? He said, well, you need to come with us. And I said, what is us? I thought you were at Geographic. He said, I quit a couple weeks ago, and this is a job, the head of wildlife for Geographic. You get taken out in a pine box. You don't leave that job. There's no one, you can't go any farther up. You don't want to go work in England. It's cold there. And so they're all in D.C. and they get their coffee in the morning and they go in at 10 o'clock. So I said, Steve, what do you do? And we said, well, the head of discovery of the family just quit. And the two of us went and bought 2,500 films before anybody knows about streaming. Can I buy stock? He said, no. Darn it. but they started a channel called Curiosity Stream. So if any of you are homeschooling or you have a family that are, all the natural history shows that you can't find anymore are on one channel. They have 13 million viewers. They have now 3,500 films. And we had 6 or 7 with them for a long time, and we just kind of pulled them out. Now we're going to put them on YouTube. But one of them was shot here. Mr. John Rudy, I think I see over there, and Shirley were kind enough to let me harass their poor deer for a long time. Actually, just the opposite. I don't approach them at all. I just sit down and stay in areas where they are. And after a while, they get very used to you. They see whichever truck I'm driving and pulling up, and they'll just get out there and start walking around. So we got some amazing stuff on deer that went on that film, but we've done now 3 films that included deer in different ways. But I'd like them to see this on a bigger screen. So we'll see. There it is. Okay.
A big white-tailed buck in winter has a lot on his mind. Of course, he's got some special tools to help him out. He's got a tremendous nose, kind of like a bloodhound almost, and he can scent all kinds of information, including who's in the neighborhood.
It's a virtual message board of pheromones of different deer.
He takes a twig and he pulls it down and he wraps it all around his head. He has scent glands on the top of his head, near his eye, and even leaving saliva on the twig helps out. He's trying to leave a message that the ladies just can't ignore.
And after all his advertising, some does will just ignore him anyway.
His real problem is that these does can only conceive for roughly 24 to 48 hours. That's it for the whole year. So the hunt goes on, and literally goes on day and night, using his nose, his eyes, and his ears. A buck will mark his territory by repeatedly rubbing his scent on a sapling.
This buck is collecting scent in a behavior called flemming.
This is the time of year where bucks are just running all over the country. It's a fabulous time to be out here and watch deer go at it. They're going to find young bucks to wrestle with and play with and just toy with, but they all know that there's a big battle down the road. Even young bucks are trying out their antlers and doing the best they can do to dominate another buck. Sometimes all it takes is flapping your ears out or pinning your ears. If you pin your ears just at the right time, you may not even have to fight. Dominant behavior is just a look, quick spin of the head, and everybody knows what you're talking about. But when 2 big bucks get together, it's very dangerous for both of them. Those long spikes can poke out an eye or puncture a lung, and everybody knows it's on. So the whole neighborhood will come out and watch. Sometimes it goes on for only 30 seconds, sometimes for hours.
After all the fussing and flirting and fighting, mating is a quiet, kind of awkward affair. And everybody in the neighborhood is watching.
That was the end of it, actually, anyway. But the script right there is he after it's all over, he moves on to find another doe. So, unfortunate. I don't know what happened there. If that's the only glitch we have tonight, we're doing great. Uh, Quick story. I grew up on cattle ranches going down to Drake Ranch a good bit. My dad died when I was about 19, and Trusty and my dad were friends. And I got a little bit older, and he saw that I was kind of just not really finding a great job or anything going on. So he said, "Why don't you go down and stay in the cabin on Gum Slough Run?" And, you know, they were having people half burnt one of the cabins down there. And so she needed a presence down there. I wasn't doing law enforcement or anything like that. So I did that, and there's no power and fireplace, and it was 9 months I stayed down there and chasing poachers a little bit, but mostly learning a lot about wildlife. So my respect for cattle ranches grew exponentially. One thing that's different about them, there's a number of things different if you're going to be a filmmaker. One is, in a filmmaker, you can't put a blind up in a state park or in a national park. And on certain animals, to get close to them, you need, for wild turkeys, they're really spooky. Bald eagles, same thing. I could go down a list of animals that will just not put up with you if you're anywhere near in sight. I'm not talking about animals in Yellowstone where the people are driving by. You're not going to get native behavior out of that. What you want to get is places where there's no one there. One of the ones we did several years ago, I spent 55 days total, 28 one year and 27 another, and we were filming a pond, two or three different ponds. We went to several ranches, but we ended up at John's, and we actually got a deer being attacked by a buck in the middle of a alligator in the middle of the day. I'm thinking about that thing going by. And we thought it was going to happen early in the morning or late in the evening. And so for 55 days, I sat in a blind off and on all through there. And we ended up getting in the middle of the day. I thought it would be early or late. But if you ever watch an alligator do something like that, what he does is, and I have friends who are Navy SEALs, and what they'll do is go down backwards and just like that a little bit, and there's not a ring on the surface of the water. It looks like magic. That alligator did that, so I knew he was hunting. And I've worked around gators, done 30 films on them, maybe 35, I don't know. Usually just sections of film, not the whole thing. That stinker disappeared for 20 minutes, and I'm sitting there, and I've got a camera lens that's $70,000, not mine. I just leased them, and a camera that's about 35. So you got about $100 and something thousand sitting there, and nothing's happening. And luckily, those cameras have a cache in it, so you can set it up that it'll basically film history. If something happens, the last 10 seconds, you've got it. You hit it, and it gets that. I'm shooting in slow motion, so I've got the last 20 seconds. But I actually saw something not quite right near that deer, and it started getting a little nervous. It was a doe 20 feet from shore, and that thing snuck up within about 8 feet. I measured it off later. And so I started rolling, and the animal just started getting up real slow. She thought maybe she could kind of sneak out of there, and he exploded. And when he did, I don't know if you guys know this. Anybody know this? If an alligator opens his mouth all the way, what happens? You get the heck out of the way. That's right. No, he can't see. There's a moment where he can't see. That's when you yawn. You don't see real well. You probably run into the car in front of you. In this case, she kicked the moment he opened his mouth all the way. Now, I don't know if it was coincidence or what, but it went over his head. He went underneath her and bit into some bulrushes thinking he got her. She sat down, ran only about 20 feet away, and then stopped back and looked. It'd been you and I, we'd been back at the truck already by then. But we ended up getting the shot, and the British had been calling me every morning. They were the people who did Planet Earth did this film. Mom, did you get your shot yet? And no, ma'am, I sure didn't. They got some nice things. Okay, well, let me see them. Okay, we'll send them over. And this went on for 54 days. And finally, so I got this finally. I said, well, we got a real close call today, and I think it'll be a nice shot. And she goes, okay, we'll go ahead and send it over, but you're going to be out there again tomorrow. I said, yes, ma'am. I didn't tell her what it was. And then she got it in the mail, and we use a thing called WeTransfer. And she opened it up. Dear God, you got it. So they were relieved too. And it was, and so I measured it off later. He had jumped 8.5 feet horizontally. So don't let your kids or your dog right there. Some of the things you can do if you're around alligator ponds and things like that, just look. And take your time, go look real slow. Don't get right up in the shoreline. But if there's places where you've seen them quite commonly, you'll see a little white piece of sand where his chin's been resting. I've literally tracked them underwater and caught them underwater by following where they're in there on sand or something. You can see their tracks or see where their tail's working, just like you track any other animal. And the last thing that happened when I did that was I reached up and grabbed one of them and pulled him back because he was all up in the weeds. He got my wedding ring and kicked it off into the water. We looked at it for 3 days, couldn't find it, and my wife believed me. So I'm bragging on cattle ranches here the long way around, but I also found out that our place is a lot more famous than we knew. Ocala in the 50s, where do you think anybody knew about that? I didn't know anything about it, and I was living here. We went to Venezuela in 1997, and it was the year Chavez took over, so that's what you do, right? You go in the middle of a revolution. And we were going for Geographic. They have a giant croc there called a Orinoco River croc. They get to 19 feet long and don't play well with others. So this is a Geographic kind of animal. So I was used to that part of it. I wasn't worried about that. But when we got there, it was really dangerous. So we got out of Caracas, luckily, in time, and we got way out into the Llanos. Llanos is about that much elevation over 25 to 50 miles. It doesn't go up. So when it dries up, you want to be there. Everything is at the water hole. We saw water holes that had 500 caiman in it, and then 2 or 3 big crocs. So it's amazing. And the bird life is stunning. They have 12 or 13 pages of hummingbirds in the bird book. I mean, it's just stupid good. So we get out there on the Llanos, and we're to meet this man who has Hato El Frio. It's a gigantic ranch. And walk up and said, he said, "Are you Mark Emery?" And I said, "I don't know. Are you my student loan director?" And he goes, so she chuckled a little bit, so I knew he had a sense of humor. And he said, "Well, no." He said, "But your accent's not like mine. Where are you from?" And I said, "Well, a little town called Ocala, Florida, right near Silver Springs. You probably don't know about it." He goes, "Did you know Ross Allen?" I said, "Yeah, he was my boss, and he owes me $20. And he said, he laughed again. He said, "Well, you know, he's been dead 10 years. I said, "Yes, sir, I'm Presbyterian, so I'm going to wait on it." And so we got past all that, and he said, "You need to come in the house. Bring your wife." My wife and I went in, and by the way, this means Mary's been to Cuba when Castro was there, and Havana. Which, Mary, you need a round of applause. She's standing back in the back. You go into a place where they pulled AK-47s on us the next day, so it was fun. But we ended up getting in there, and he had a book like you would find like a family Bible, gold engraving, all in it. It's really remarkable looking. And it was from the 1800s on up. The people who had visited these ranches are like the King Ranch. They're 100,000 acres, are monstrous. They have their own churches, schools. People live on them their whole life. So he said, "I want you to see something. I want you and your wife to sign this." Well, that'd be an honor, sir. Thank you. And he said, "No, I want you to see something first." And he opens it up to 1954, which he didn't tell you. It's the year I was born as Christopher Columbus. And there was Ross Allen's name in the year I was born. And I was like, "Holy mackerel, kingfish." And he said, "What was he doing here?" And he said, "Well, he was catching anacondas. I'll take you where he was camped." I said, "Let's go." And so we went. And the next day or a couple days later, I don't remember, Mary could probably tell you, but there was a very large anaconda eating a 6-foot caiman. It took 22 hours, and we got a little bit of it, but it was a really thick hyacinths and stuff. But this next little sequence is a little reverential for cattle ranches. When I was on the Drake Ranch, I learned to ride ponies with real cowboys, and I found out I wasn't one. I wasn't going to be one. And I had a horse that would bite calves in the butt if they went too slow. So they gave me the best horse I could have possibly had, a pity horse for me. But we were able to move cattle all the way up through the swamps and stuff. And every once in a while, you'd be running along with the cows doing pretty well, and a gator would pop up out of the water and the mouth would show, and the horse would pull back a little bit, and you had to get your skills on. But we had a great time doing all that. What you learn when you're on them is not only can you put your blind up there, but they burn, right? And they work that land. Johnny burns, the Drakes do. Rockin' F, many people are burning in a very specific manner, kills ticks and lice and all that, but the regrowth and the regeneration, the deer will be on it in 3 or 4 days. They'll come right back in there after they've been moved off for the fire, and they'll be feeding on that. So when you see deer like that, you're going, "Those aren't from around here." They are from around here. And yeah, there's some genetics there, but it's also a lot of good food and a lot of good water. And you have to have both. And these ranches have made their places like that. So they have great populations of We're finding panthers on some of them. We actually have one on a trail cam last year, and there's lots of bobcats and other things that you're going to see in some of these pieces here. Turn me back up there. Thanks. It's just, to me, this is my happy place. When we go out there, it's traffic isn't too bad, you know, and you might sit down and start calling like a hoot owl and looking for dinosaurs, and you find one right in front of you. You have to have a really slow camera. Those spears on the front of there are for real. I've seen them take bats and we're up underneath the dock, stabbed up there and pulled the bat down and ate it. Oh, okay. It kind of reminds me of the spears on palmettos. Barred owls, we got them right here in town. Most of you probably have one right behind your house at night. You'll hear one crank up. And our favorite, one of my favorites, is the pileated woodpecker. Being a redhead, you kind of sympathize. Wild turkeys have a real interesting thing that they can do is they can see almost 360 in full color. And deer have a great nose and great ears. So they hang around each other when they feed an awful lot. If you're around places where there's not a lot of folks, you'll see them together. They're looking out for each other. And these two guys are not really looking out for each other. That's the Tertullian High School right there coming up on you. How close can you get? And this shows it really quick, but that poor woman there dug for about 5 minutes before she got a single worm, and Gobbler there got it down in about 2 seconds. This is on cattle ranches as well. These are called clear-winged moths, and you'll often confuse them for hummingbirds when you see them at a distance. And they come in 2 or 3 different color shades. Amazing little critters. Got a lot of bobcats in a lot of these woods, but they're phantoms. You can hear them, you won't see them. Maybe late at night, you can see them in the lights or something. But trail cams are a great way to get them on camera. They will actually eat young wild hogs. So we promote not shooting bobcats and let them get those little wild hogs that are tearing up the pasture. Most of these big ranches have either springs or lots of great ponds on them. And so the deer and all kinds of other animals are going to be down by the water sometimes early and late, sometimes in the middle of the day when it's hot, and we'll get something to drink. So a lot of these pastures weren't like that when people first got here. This took many years to get cleared. See a big pasture like that. They also hire a lot of young people. This is a gal that's working for this Taylor shop. She's also works on cattle ranches, does a great job there, and works with up in Alaska with us in the summer. And that's a village plantation cattle right there. Good looking duck, square back. One of the things you don't think about them until you're out there for is that how much food they provide, right? An animal like that defecates a lot. Well, it creates a lot of fertilizer that you don't have to pay for. It's very natural. And before we were here, bison were here longer. And so close to these places that we were. This is right out near Marion Oaks. So you come out here, Michael Warren shot these for me with drone, but we also shot at Seven Springs, and that's not far from there. I don't know where he shot this particular shot, but that kind of country is happening more and more. So we want to take care of our cattle ranches. If they have something where they're trying to raise extra tax money on that, you need to go look at the bottom line on a ranch, because they're not making big money that way. They'd have to love it to do it, that's for sure. Guys, we grew up in here in the 60s and the 70s. You probably remember, I don't know what year that was, but they started building on the Cross Florida Barge Canal, right? When they did, they didn't consult any of us, for starters. And they straightened out the river in certain places. Well, I don't know if you know, but the catfish don't show up at Silver Springs anymore. When you bring your grandparents down, they go, "What happened to all the catfish?" And they straightened out the river, and the places where they spawned were in the bends in the river. They also put a dam there, and a lot of the ones were migrating back and forth up and down the river, and they got stopped by the dam. So now there's a real effort, and there's been a real effort for a long time, but they actually have a bill in Congress in the state of Florida to take the dam out. It doesn't provide any hydroelectric power. There's a lot of controversy about it, but mostly just about fishing. And we fished it as little kids with our dads in our John boats, and we caught plenty of fish. There wasn't any problem with that. And the other thing is that there's 2 or 3 populations. The most notable is striped sea bass. It's the southernmost version of that animal, and it goes all the way up to Silver Springs if you don't have a dam. So if you go in there on a glass bottom boat ride now and look down, there's not that many fish to look at. Some of them are tilapia, and some of them are plecostomus, the catfish there, and they're not supposed to be there, the little tiny ones there. Well, there's also an eel that actually lives in the Sargasso Sea and comes all the way up into Lake George and all the way up. I've caught them in the boat basin on our Zebco 202s. It was big time fun. And the French used to pay a lot of money for pickled eel. Anyway, so what I'm getting at is that this whole system is now in Congress, so maybe they'll finally take it out. They have a lot of repairs to do on it if they don't, millions of dollars, so it seems like a good time to do it. I was at Odd Rodman when it first worked, and it was a great deal. Now the only time the fishing's really, really good is when they draw it down. Why don't you leave it draw it down? What's the other benefit? Well, there's a huge section of that, Payne's Landing, several other places, and I have some pictures of that in here, where there are cypress forests that are getting inundated with water. Well, you can put some water on a cypress tree, but you can't put it 8 feet up a cypress tree. It'll kill it. And if you go over certain areas, you'll just see the stobs sticking up all over. Those were not cut off. They were cut off from having the right amount of oxygen and things to their roots. So they're toast. And then the other areas there, you'll have some drone shots over. Sarah Matisic, who's a great Geographic drone operator, and shot with me. And you can see ospreys are nesting up above it and all that, but the bottom of the tree has not got any leaves on it. So you talk about many, many acres of cypress worth a lot of money. The other thing there is you're going to see in here that we reference other things like cattle and as far as some of the other things that could go on there, they could put there's places for horses, there's places for small farms and things like that along that area, because there's all that land that's been covered up for years. Now it's got a lot of good soil on it. It's got all that muck, right? It's dried back down, it'll grow back real fast. So let's take a look at that. And this is a fellow that's playing acting for us. He's actually emulating a fellow named John Gotch. And John Gotch is a world-class ophthalmologist. I say that, he's at Johns Hopkins and he's a professor there, a brilliant man. And he came down and we did a film on the Ocala. He got 4 Emmy nominations. Darn it, no Grammys. And we won 1. But the purpose of the river was to show how that river used to look and how it looks now. So we're on little side creeks around that. And when he was a boy, he came back from college, and all of a sudden he saw it changed. So pretty dramatic for him. As kids, we knew the difference. We didn't know much. We were just little guys, but you could still tell. And that's what it looks like when it's all drawn down. And that's how they did it. They just brought a tank in and took it out. And they gave themselves an award for making a great spot for outdoor stuff. The only thing it did was make great fisheries and great duck hunting in certain areas. But now silt is coming in and piling up in those areas because it's been underwater for so long. And the hyacinths, when they sink down, create a false bottom. If you take all that out, at the back of all the way up and down a couple of sides of that river are little springs. You can go in there with your kayak or your canoe. We go in there and scuba dive. It's beautiful, but we can only do it about every 4 or 5 years when they draw it down. Of course, limpkins are coming back. Some of these other species are coming back. They'll do real well. But that's what it looks like right now. That was taken not too long ago. I think the paint's still wet on some of this. And vultures lined up everywhere. Not the kind of company you want to have all the time. Don't think you're water skiing all up in there. But when it gets reclaimed, that's what I'm talking about there. That's what those trees look like. A normal cypress tree won't look like that. It's going to have big branches and big leaves coming all the way up. It's going to look good. But you can see what cattle ranches and things like that would look like in that same area. So Dave Robbins there feeding the cow and trying to feed his grandson to him. There's certainly places out there for people to run horses. White ibis are only in a few places now, but if you had that all drawn down, they'd be all over the place. Good thing about Florida is it recovers quickly. As a lot of you know, I'm in Alaska about half the year and half the year here. It might take 40 or 50 years for a four-wheeler track to cover back up here. Things recover very quickly. If you get red tide, you'll have redfish 4 or 5 years later. You have a bunch of them still in there. So these are what those springs look like. This is one on Seven Springs, another ranch that's very, very similar to the ones you'd see on the Upper Ocala. They're clear water, and we get a lot of great behavior underwater in these kind of places because they're not fished heavily, and the grass still is clean. It doesn't have algae all over it. Need more of places like this, not less. You go to a spring in the summer in Florida, you know, at Alexander Springs, you see the line is just down the road. Get in. That's a little musk turtle. That's not a baby snapping turtle. That little fellow there is just having a big time. And you can just stick your nose down right into a spring. All these have different ecosystems too. There's all kinds of different animals that are in different places, and you might have otters around a place like that, or in this case, it is one of the actual springs it's on. It's usually covered up by water hyacinth. Very pretty. And if you're lonely, you can go find a gator. It's usually August is a good time to find them when they're with their babies. But you know, one of the things we forget about is we have about a 2-week fall, and then it goes all the way into January for a few leaves, right? But you can get out there with the drone and you'll see some pretty amazing things as far as fall colors up high in the tops of those trees. When they started letting some of these manatees through, I don't know if you knew what happened. Some of the guys at the dam who opened up the little side gates there and let them through. We've got one now that's been going to Fort Lauderdale for spring break. Seriously, she's gone twice at least. They have a tag on her. So. But you get somebody from England that comes underwater and looks at that, they flip out. They just, it's magic, it's magic. No, it's a manatee, it's all right. But our manatees that aren't in the ocean all the time are much cleaner. They look really, really different than the ones at Crystal River, for instance. There's a little baby there. They're kind of look like a little Tootsie Roll when they first pop out. They're all brown and cute, roly-poly. If you go in there in full moon, just stay away a little bit because it's mating behavior time, and they've rolled more than one kayak over already. They love to do that with each other underwater. I've spent a lot of time with them underwater in different places, but here, I don't know if you know, they're related to elephants, right? So the very tip of their fin is actually called a clasper, and they can go up to another entity and roll it. Just walk like this, and it starts spinning out. But you can see how graceful they are, how they're completely bending in half there. None of my yoga positions include that particular shot. And there's the little toenails there that are so goofy on them. If you ever see one up close, they'll open up their mouth and they have looks like a hairy tongue. It's very science fiction looking, isn't it? If you've seen them. One of the things that we don't think about, they go here and they make this great trip to come up these creeks, and in Crystal River there's hardly any eelgrass left, and here there's some patches that are missing. Well, the other thing they want to do when they're here is take a nap. They love to sleep on the bottom, and the mom's going right down there to take a nap, and the baby's just going, I'm going to continue to feed. I will continue to feed. Getting their big nap for the winter. Thank you. Well, the last little bit we've got here are the captains weighing in on what they think we should do and how we should take care of things. And it's hard for me to watch some of it because there's 4 of them and 2 of them are gone. And good folks. This is Leon Cheatham and Virginia.
When I first came here, we would advertise a 1-hour trip on the glass bottom. We would go way down about where Paradise Park used to be. And then we cut it to 45 minutes, and then from 45 minutes to 30 minutes. But mainly because of the scenery. We were seeing fewer fish and less wildlife and everything to keep the people engaged. So we start cutting it back the way we could halfway keep the people excited for the period of time that we had them out. I would say we start seeing more algae back in the 70s, late 60s, and it just kept growing. And the fish population start leaving us, back in those days. If they can reverse the algae, I think that we'll be heading back upstream again. But if they don't get control of the algae, I think we're drifting downstream again.
I know that the things that my children and some of my children have enjoyed along the Silver River, my great-grands will never be able to enjoy. With the algae along the waterway and the purity and the flow of the water now, we have less flow than we had years ago. And coming in the door 44 years ago, the mainspring produced 550 million gallons every 24 hours. Now I've been told there's less than 400 million gallons of water is produced daily out of the mainspring. It's a bit scary. It's a bit scary.
This is the real Florida. And as long as we take care of it and look after it, it'll be here for our grandchildren and their children to see. But we're going to have to wise up in some areas and look at what we're doing and start improving on what we're doing. Silver Springs was the #1, besides my wife and my church, #1. I love it.
My mother is passed and gone, but she always would tell me, said, son, I worry sometimes. I don't know what you'll do if they get rid of these glass bottom boats. She's dead and gone now, my mother. But she knew it's about all I ever did for many years.
This is my home. Silver Spring is my home. I spend more time here than I do at my house. There are mornings, you might not be old enough yet where you go to Dragon a little bit, but once you move around and get here, boy, can't nothing stop you.
And it's every day is something, it's different. You can come down here 7 days a week, which I've done years and years in a row, 7 days a week, all hours of the day, all hours of the night. It's never the same, never the same, always constantly different. You don't hear nothing but monkeys in the woods jumping from palm tree to palm tree, fish jumping, a frog croaking, bird chirping, or whatever, things like that. And you can't get that any other place. And it's all natural. None of this is man-made, none of it. Look out and see all the big cypress knees, these big cypress trees that's hundreds and hundreds years old. There's no way to beat it, no way. I mean, all these doctors you want to talk about, go to and talk to, and they'll straighten you out and all this stuff, You come out and take you a ride on Silver River or float down Silver River. You won't need a doctor. Everything will be clear. Your head will be washed plumb clean.
Thank you, guys. I think we have some time for question and answer. Any questions? Any answers? Yes, sir.
What's your favorite spring to visit when they're during a drawdown?
Whichever one I'm right in front of, but there's several there that are quite nice. Tobacco Springs and Cannon Springs. Have you been to those? Yeah, they're quite nice. I was just working with Jason Gully, and he's going to have it's already out. One of the articles is out on Geographic and he lit that thing up. I think he did Tobacco Springs and lit it up, and you see a diver in there, and it's all. Have you seen that shot yet? Yeah, but he was just here a couple days ago. Yeah, so these people slip through town all the time. You'd be surprised who's here. Yeah, go ahead.
How are you, sir?
Just right.
My question is, the deer that you'd photographed, was that out on Drake Ranch?
No,
No.
actually, most of it was not. It was on Blitch Plantation.
Okay, all right. No, I've been out there to the Gum Slough, and
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
Trusty and I know Kay, and I just
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, no, they are certainly there, and I've spent a lot of time filming them there. But the cover is so much thicker. There's no big holes in it where I can get any movement particularly on fights. I've got fights that are just like 6-8 seconds long, and so I want a little more than that. I'm greedy.
Where would you get to the Cannon Springs if you were to put in and paddle?
Well, Kenwood is probably the place you'd put in right there and work from there. But you might want to talk to Karen Chadwick or Erica or those folks that do trips up there all the time, and they'll take you right close because it's a pretty good haul with a kayak or a canoe. But yeah, it's above the dam. Yes, yeah. When you turn, you don't know which one's north. People always say north, but do we
It's
have
back
compass?
here.
I still have a compass.
It's back here. Hold on, Mark.
Okay. I've got some questions for you guys, though. Can't see who some of the guys I used to hunt hogs with and run around and catch wild critters at night. I don't know how we got away with it. We caught some alligators one of them was close to 10 feet, and we'd move them down to a creek and let them go. As far as that gum slough run you were talking about, that's where I was living back in the woods. We built a zip line. It's still there probably, and it runs across. David Lancaster and Ted and myself, and we jacked it up, got it really good, and we put a little pipe on it, and just put some WD-40 and a string on it, and you slide out and drop in. I was out there in the morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock. Last one? Okay. Oh, you got a question back there? Okay, I'll finish the story in a minute. Go ahead, ma'am.
Cattle farms have recently become a frequent target of environmentalists. And it's very interesting to hear you speak about the benefits that cattle farms actually provide to our environment here in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have suggestions for ways that we can combat that as Floridians, as Ocalans, to combat the narrative? There are very powerful voices, Bill Gates among them, that they have a lot of negative things to say about the impact of cattle farms on the environment.
Yeah, I do. And there are, I have family that are dairy farmers in Vermont, and I have other friends who've done pigs and things like that. Those are much more problematic, and how do you dispose of all that stuff? As far as the cows and the cattle, I'm happy to talk to somebody like that and share with them what actually lives on that ranch besides cows, because it's as good or better than any national park. And it's being supported by an individual, not by taxes. No, so that guy is actually paying taxes to create a haven for wildlife. Pretty good deal. Yes, sir. Oh. I figured that fella could holler it out to me. He'd be all right.
I'd probably be all right. You probably don't remember me. Back in 2001, you took me and my classmates out to some, from Redeemer Christian School, to some property. David Lancaster's daughter was
right
class above me.
Yeah.
And
Lower
really,
Beth.
Yeah, Lower Beth. Really had a wonderful time, and you taught us a lot, and really solidified a love of like being in nature and messing with particularly unpopular animals like snakes and spiders and things.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder what has driven you for all of your community involvement and all you have shared throughout the years, because it impacted me as a 11-year-old a lot.
Well, you know, to me, the joy is watching a little kid light up, and we do that. Shirley and I have been taking little juniors out fishing, and oh my gosh, they just light up, and they're higher than 10 hippies in about 5 seconds. You know, they're really happy. So what we did a long time ago, I started at First Pres. I was going teaching kids how to read. They had a thing called Lawbuck literacy, and it was something that missionaries had used to teach. And so I was going into the hood out here and teaching kids how to read, and found out one of the kids in my class was a senior who couldn't read. So I taught him. So part of our gift that Mary and I have done for years is working with kids in a lot of different ways. For years, there was Skill Day Center, and we'd go over there and teach kids how to read, and they would teach us how to do math. But you had a lot of that interaction, and it keeps you fresh, and it keeps you from thinking you're anything special, because those kids are doing amazingly to be in where they are and surviving the way they are. So tough times, but yeah, we love that kind of thing. And I've done a lot of public speaking like that, where we spoke to 6,000 kids in Oklahoma in 5 days. And you go to a school, and they have, huge oil money, so they had stadium-like rooms for the theater. And so we'd talk to them, but we had a lot of fun with them. And we do is pick out the bully in the group if you could. Back then, they would give you swag at Geographic to take with you and to give out to people. And so I'd pick a guy, oh, there's a kid right there. He's trouble. I can tell right away. So about 10 minutes into the thing, I would say, come on up here, coach. I need to help. You need to help me out here. You're going to get a National Geographic t-shirt. Can you do that? Can you work that into your schedule? And he goes, yeah. He comes on up. So get him on the stage and said, we're going to walk like a bear. You're going to help me. They alternate their feet like this, and we got him on the ground and walking with him, and then I'd be standing up watching him, and everybody breaking up, right? But he got his t-shirt. He changed right there and put the t-shirt on and walked back down, and it got quiet again. So you can have a lot of fun with it, and it teaches you a lot about yourself, not take so much importance with some of the things you're doing. Yes, ma'am. Oh, sorry.
Some of those gator shots look like you're very close. So yes, are you that close? And if so, how do you know when he's not going to bite you?
Don't ever do that, okay? The underwater is the closest actually because we're using 14 and 15 millimeter lenses. So I'm 18 to 25 inches away, and we've done rattlesnakes underwater at that same distance. One thing about an alligator, and don't try this, and I don't see a lot of young people in here, so hopefully they won't do this. But underwater, an alligator can't see underneath his tummy, right? If you don't blow bubbles out of your, if you got a tank on and you don't blow bubbles and tickle his belly, you can be upside down and backwards and swimming underneath whatever. They can't see you. So that's some of it. As far as the big action shots and things like that, where you see in the big head of an alligator, people will tell you they got that out in the wild. We got them in big alligator farms where they had 12 and 13-foot alligators. We did get very close, but we knew behavior very, very well. And the people I'm working with are world-class. Alligator farm in St. Augustine, the one in Gatorland down in South, both of them have places in the back, one of which it's not open to the public. And the bad, naughty gators that they get from everybody's yard, they don't want to kill them anymore in the suburbs. They'll take them and put them in that pond. We did one last year, or a couple years ago, where we found a guy from MIT. I didn't find him, one of the producers did. And he designed a thing that would play 6 times the volume of a regular little box. And he'd taken a pelican case, made it waterproof, and half of it was underwater and half of it was above. So we played extremely loud that gator that we got on the show here to them. And this is during the time when they do the backs are doing the water dance and all this stuff. 70 alligators came up at one time and started answering. And I'm in the water waist deep with a tripod and a whole expensive kit that's not mine. We have insurance, but you don't want to try that out. And I have a guy on either side of me with 10-foot poles, one of which smelled slightly of rum, not the pole, the guy. And so you really want to pick your friends and in those situations, but you can do a lot of things that way. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm wondering, you grew up in the wilds, hunting and fishing.
You betcha.
I've been fishing with you in Alaska.
Yes, sir.
I know how you do that. But has your time with these game animals making these beautiful films affected the way you feel about hunting them?
It does, but I've always been a functional hunter. I never really cared about. If I got antlers, I got them on frame. I can show you. I got him, and I can still look at him tomorrow. And Trusty told me that. He said, well, if I shoot him, I'll never get to look at him again. I go, oh, okay, that works. There are places where deer get out of balance and you need to harvest. And particularly sometimes you need to harvest doe because everybody's going to harvest the bucks. And what happens, they go like this, and then they eat all the food, and then everybody gets sick and don't do well. There's plenty of evidence of that. If you've taken wildlife management, you know that. And in this case, I hunt wild hogs every year and usually knock something down and put it in the refrigerator. Mary wants my 3 meals a day. My wife, unbelievable, right? She's going all modest back in the back. She's got a little piece of it right there in her hand. I know she did. But yeah, so I've never was much of a bird hunter because I was so poor when we were young. I couldn't shoot 4 shots and miss. So I got 5 slugs at the beginning of the season, and when I came back, I had 5 things laying down and brought them back to the house. So I'm just a functional, get real close and shoot, and then I'm done. And don't let them suffer. Am I in trouble again?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We
She
have
always gets me for going over, so.
one last question here. I'm going to pass the mic.
I want to know if you were traveling at the speed of light and you turn your lights on, what do you see? What have we got?
Oh, my question is,
Yes, ma'am.
how are they handling the algae that is out of control at Silver River?
What's that?
How are they handling? Do they have a plan to handle all of the overgrowth in the Silver River?
Oh, for algae and all that?
Yes.
Yeah, we weren't able to put it in for time, but we have a thing that there's about 10 or 12 of us. There's actually more of us in that group. 2 of them are former Navy SEALs, Team 6. One of them is a Secret Service guy. These are a good bunch to dive with. But just make sure you have your license. The only thing we can do is clean off the statues, clean the rocks right there by the mainspring where they're taking a look at it. So I talked to Leon before he passed. I said, Leon, what did y'all do back in the day when it got a lot of algae? Because when the flow slows down and you get droughts, we used to have 7-year droughts way back. And he said, we just took a fire hose and stick it underwater and just blow them off and clean them off like that. I never even thought about that. But they had several big fires at Silver Springs in its history. And for a while there, evidently there was something resembling a fire hydrant somewhere nearby, because that's what they used to do. All we're doing now is just cleaning the glass underneath the glass bottom boats once a month. We're doing this. That's how fast it's coming back. The more nitrates you get in the water, the more algae bloom you get. Yeah. So it's not easy to solve. Yeah. Wish it was. Thank you guys for coming tonight.
Yeah, thank you
I
all
appreciate
at
you.
Showmark.
Thank you.